Welcome to the third match of the evening. We're on Cactus Valley. This is a Female League, and the opponents are spawning to the left-hand corner in orange. Playing for Marisk in Germany, we have Miezekotze. And to the bottom right, in purple? Lilac? Not really pink? Playing Protoss for O Gaming TV and France. It's Midastouch. So knowing Midas, this might be a long series, depending on how it's going to play out. Midas known for her turtley style, kinda turtley style. She also still holds the record of the longest FSL game ever played in the history of the FSL, together with Miyako in Season 2, where the match actually took both of them almost 2 hours to finish, with Midastouch eventually winning, barely, with a 3-2. So let's see what Miezekotze might throw against it. Miezekotze, runner-up of the first season of the FSL, and got the shared third and fourth place in the playoffs of Season 2. Managed to get in second place throughout the season. So ended the season in second place and entered the playoffs accordingly. So Miezekotze never to be underestimated. I think she convincingly won the last match between the two. I don't know if it was a 3-1 or 3-0. I don't think it was a 3-2. So let's see if Midastouch can avenge herself on her opponent, or if Miezekotze again will prevail against the French Protoss. Overlord's already being sent out. Miezekotze going for the standard hatch first, into pool opening, while we have Midastouch with an early expand, just walling down on the bottom of the ramp in an instant and getting a Nexus right behind it with a Mothership core as a follow-up. Miezekotze sending out 2 links, with 2 more links being at home. Like I said before, she usually likes to have 4 links early on, usually uses 2 of them for the watchtowers, but this time around we only have one watchtower, so she don't really need all of those. Can just send these 2 forward and might just send 1 back later on in order to take the watchtower while taking a third right behind it. Midas in the meantime getting another gateway. Has everything safe and secured. Adept is already out, so no way for the links to get in. Will lose 1. Was almost unavoidable. And will now, like I said before, probably send this one back towards the watchtower. And there we can already see the marker. While trying to saturate up a little bit, might even want to get a little bit of scouting information later on using this overlord over here, because it's already moving towards the main base, and will probably arrive in time to give her the necessary amount of important information. Robotics facility at a very nice spot here, not really easy for Miezekotze to scout this. I think an even better place would have been like somewhere down here, but the pylon does not really reach there. And she wanted to have a pylon close to the Nexus, just in case something were to break through and she needed to defend her mineral line and these first important buildings with the help of a pylon. So, Overlord incoming from the left-hand side as well, so 1 Overlord will eventually scout the important tech building there. And then Miezekotze might know what she's up against. Roadhorn incoming for her, after having seen that Adepts were being built, and there the first 3 Adepts are already headed towards the third base of Miezekotze. Not much to gain there. There are actually no drones there whatsoever. Miezekotze knows, or assumed, that her opponent would go for an early Adept push. I mean, it's just common gameplay anyways. And she saw 1 Adept with 1 more being produced in the gateway. So, of course, she just wanted to have something out in order to defend against a possible small Adept force. And she now has links, usually not the best choice against Adepts, but Midas doesn't want to risk any of her units for not really gaining anything. So she just recalls them all, and in the meantime, somehow, Zerglings made it inside the base of Midas there. So it seems as if this was not quite quite close. Well, one of these is pretty bruised, but these are actually the 3 that were attacking over here. So don't really know how she got in here, but she managed to get in and killing off like 1 drone or 2, but then the rest of the drones eventually, with the help of the Adept, managed to kill the force. Nothing all too much lost. Let's have a look at... Yeah, the units lost. Actually, I wanted to have a look at that one. No, that one. Workers killed. Only 1. So not all too important. Killing the Overlord as well, while saturating up even more. Baneling Nest in the making. Maybe Miezekotze wants to break through the wall, or she just wants to have some additional defense with only Lings against the Adepts. Because it seems as if she rather wants to tech straight into lair tech, and does not really want to throw too many resources into roaches that will be useless in just a matter of time anyways. So she rather just wants to drone more heavily and wants to get into some tech she will be able to use later on anyways. Does not really want to waste too much gas into the useless roaches. Wants to go into Hydralisk Dan earlier on with some burrow play. This could actually be interesting. So maybe we're going to see either only Hydras with burrow, or we will see some roaches later on, so that we will have done some roach Hydra and maybe some lurkers. But it's probably going to go into an early lurker play, I think. So let's see how this is going to play out. Midastouch makes sure that her 3rd base does not get interrupted. But yeah, she's fairly behind economically. If we just have a look, we can see that already. Like 600 to 700 minerals less per minute. And thanks for the greetings from Miezekotze. Ah, Miezekotze hosting. Thank you very much for the host, Miezekotze. And also hello to all you lovely Miezekotze fans. You just arrived in time in order to see her FSL match. So enjoy! So Colossus almost out. That's just the typical force that Midastouch likes to build. Going into a few early Immortals, then going into Colossi later on. The Death Ball, the typical one, and maybe even putting in some more air units, but most likely going into some Templars right behind it. Miezekotze just wants to get the good information, has an Overseer in place, just in case the army would move out via the left flank. Okay, that was a misclick. Didn't really want to have that Guardian Shield over there. Charge being planned as well. Like I said before, this is like typical Midastouch's play. We know her style, we've seen it throughout the whole Season 2. And we know that she likes to sit back on 3 bases, trying to defend until her army is actually maxed. Most of the time she only moves out once she's got maxed. But of course that's just very comfortable for Miezekotze. She only needed to defend the first initial push, that Midas also always does. But after that, she could just comfortably drone and tech up, and she did, so she now has a lot of Hydras here. Like I said, it might actually be a mostly Hydra and then later on Lurker-based army here, but she needs to attack kinda quickly at some point, because the longer she takes her time to attack, the more potent these Colossi will get, and the more Colossi she will actually get. Also getting the Dark Shrine at some point for some harassment, which can be really annoying at some point in time. But yeah, the vision of Miezekotze just magnificent. Has a lot of Overlords in position, has the Watchtower, has Lings at important lanes, and also is now spreading the Overlords even more with Baneling drops even incoming. Well, that's a new one. Haven't seen Miezekotze doing that quite a lot, and is now even moving out. So probably she just wants to attack at 3 locations at once. Like attacking with the Overlords inside the main base, destroying a few probes, also destroying a lot of probes over at the left-hand side, and then maybe attacking through the middle? No, okay, just waiting. More and more Hydras. I mean, this is like Hydra galore. What the hell? So let's see if these coordinated drops will actually work out. Okay, 1 Overlord. Actually, Overlords, 2 Banelings into all the mineral lines. Wow, that could hurt. That could be a new record of worker hits. So, first workers go down here. Bam, bam. Other workers go down here. Bam, bam. More workers go down here. So, quite nicely coordinated. Actually, a little bit disappointing. Only 9? Only 9! For all the effort! Are you kidding me? I mean, this was like the best timed Overlord Baneling drop I've ever seen. I mean, did you see that? All of these 3 Overlords hit at the exact same time. Well, almost. I think there was like 1 second delay. We had a drop here, then I could just go over here and see the drop, but at the same time the drop was happening here. This was like so tightly arranged that these Overlords would fly in at the same time and drop their Banelings. And she only got 9 kills for the effort. This is really disappointing. I don't know. I mean, 4 Banelings would have probably just wrecked the whole worker line. So Miezekotze, if you're watching this, next time around, please put 4 into the Overlords, because that would just make for so much more. But actually, I would have expected something else as well. This was so greatly timed and done, so perfectly managed, but it just didn't do the damage. How unfortunate. So, now Miezekotze is rolling in with Hydra Baneling. Purely a pure Hydra Bane. Good force fields there by Midastouch. At least buying herself a bit of time. Nice. Then more force fields, but now the Banelings crushing in. Mostly into all of the Archons, which might actually be the best thing to happen. But yeah, with only 2 Colossi, this Hydra force can actually... Might actually even be able to take this out. Miezekotze does not really want to take the rest. Reinforces her army, is instantly back up to 200 again. But only the army movements have to hatch. That's the only thing. But yeah, I mean, I still think this is not a really that potent army. We don't have that much splash damage in here. So with a really good surround, with a really good concave, I think Miezekotze should actually be able to take that. But I mean, it is a scary army. What with the upgrades? It's 2-2. So 2-0 and 2-0. So both are fairly equal. Protoss army units a little bit more sturdy than the glass cannons that are the Hydras, and of course a lot of Banelings will just blow up and be supply gone from the army once they explode. Finally, we have some High Templars in the mix. Storm has not been researched yet, so she only can make them into Archons, which might still be able to help out a little bit. So nice little usage of changelings here, seeing where the army is. That's actually a bad position there for Miezekotze here. The Colossi actually can just focus fire down everything that comes down that ramp, while nothing can attack the Colossi themselves. So Midas now needs to retreat, lures all of these Banelings into the Photon Overcharge. Does not really want to get hit, gets hit finally a little bit, but doesn't really lose everything. In the meantime, the Hydra is just wrecking havoc at this 4th base location here. Will probably shoot down the 4th base economy here, which is of course a very good thing for her to do so far. Is trying to transition into Lings and Mutas here. Very interesting style there. Don't really know if Mutas are the answer. Maybe she can actually just do some more harassment with the Mutas while trying to keep that army away from her. But Midastouch smells the weakness. She sniffs out that the army of Miezekotze is not enough in order to stop this mighty force of the Protoss there. So she rather just wants to run behind her, but does fairly not... Okay, never mind. Just chases it away. One Archon making its sole way across the map towards his brothers. So, 4th Bane down, still a big problem for Midas though. She wants to produce a lot of expensive units, but does not really have the economy. 3rd base is kinda healthy. Yeah, 2nd base is almost dry, main base is dry, you can say. And Miezekotze just running over to the right hand side. Fortunately for Midastouch, there is a pylon planted down by her, so having good map awareness there. And map vision, in fact. So moving over here, there's a really nasty choke point there that Miezekotze actually does not want to engage. But I think her main idea is to just deny more and more bases to Midas, to overwhelm her in the end. Okay, Banelings running in, well, kinda okay stutter step micro there by Midastouch. The output, the damage output just being way too big here for Banelings to actually deal that much of significant damage. I think she could even afford to lose like 1 Archon or 2 here. Well, nice movement still. I mean, the Archon splitting up, sucking up a lot of this damage of the Banelings here. And now, of course, that's actually kind of a nice positioning. The Colossi actually shooting at everything that's not really important instead of the Hydras. But now, finally getting the damage done, melting away almost all of these Hydras, but not before Miezekotze actually manages to take down the only really mining base for now. Luckily for Midas, the other third base has just finished, so she can just transfer all of these probes over here, but she's massively oversaturated at that base and will get down pretty quickly there, while Miezekotze, sorry, still has a fourth that's a little bit mined, but only a little bit there. We might have actually missed some sort of harassment over here, because there is an extractor. How many workers do we have killed? We have 19 workers from Midastouch, so maybe I just missed some sort of DT harassment. There they are, because we were just so engaged in the main fight that we couldn't really care about the DT harassment. But yeah, that's of course something that might get Midas back into the game a little bit, killing a lot of workers, denying mining from that fourth base for quite some time, almost even taking down the extractor. So that's something that at least evens up the odds a little bit. And Miezekotze was pretty wasteful with her army there. DT's just moving in once more. There's no detection over here whatsoever, but she has detection with her army. So these two Dark Templars are going to die, not before killing 5 more workers there. So actually a nice little worker lead there from Midas. It does not matter though, since she only has one totally oversaturated base, while Miezekotze is at least mining from 2 bases, although this one is also pretty dry. I mean, Miezekotze was actually kinda all in with this move, especially since all this damage got dealt at the same time by Midas' DTs here, so DTs really helping out once more in the PvZ matchup. Both desperately needing another base here. At the same time, we have another small engagement over here, not really dealing that much damage. At the same time, Miezekotze tries to get over here, denying that base might just barely... No, shouldn't get it. Or if she commits, she should lose a lot of her forces there. Or she might just get it, but yeah, okay, she gets it. That's really important, but like I said, losing almost all of her units in the process. Don't really know if that was actually worth it. Yes, denying that base was important, but having no standing forces, dropping below 100 supply, I don't know. Well, actually I do know, and I don't really think that was actually worth it. I think Miezekotze just wanted too much there. So now Midas' army is just moving into the potential 5th and will just deny Miezekotze this base forever. And that might actually be the biggest problem right now. Miezekotze is also running dry on resources, as is Midas, but Midas has the bigger standing forces and has traded more cost efficiently throughout the whole game. Great Aspire incoming, but unfortunately we don't have any Corruptors, so it will still take some time to make Corruptors, and especially it will take resources that Miezekotze does not really have. And then transforming all of these Corruptors into Brood Lords, wow, I mean we're a lot of time away. It's 29 seconds for the Corruptors, and then I think the same amount of time, or even a little bit longer, for the Brood Lords, so a lot of time. Again, both players just denying each other mining from more bases. Miezekotze running over here will probably not want to... send these banelings right into that base. Wouldn't help anyways. Gets a good amount of zealots though, so at least the banelings did some good. But yeah, killing army is not really what Miezekotze wants to do right now. I think she really wanted to get it into the mineral line, killing off a few more workers. And again, Miezekotze trying to take a 5th base over here, but the zealot is there, knowing that it's there, might actually send out another force. No, that's just not Midas' style. Sending out like 1 to 2 forces, even gets the cancel there. Ooh, and even gets the drone! Oh, very unfortunate there for Miezekotze. Oh, very unlucky there. Sent in the drone, was a little bit greedy, thought that with the army incoming, the zealot would be done before the drone went near, but then the zealot just killed the drone, so she had to send another one, delaying this base for even longer. So now, since she has a base in the way of her attack path, she might actually try to take this base down. She should, to be honest. Miezekotze is running low on minerals. Let's have a look at the income tab. Yeah, it's getting closer and closer to a low income situation. But Midas now has finally managed to get that base up at least. This one is also almost dry, but she's established that one over here and is now trying to saturate it. So economically, everything's looking fairly good for Midastouch right now. Ooh, nice little run-by attempt there by Miezekotze. There are... well, there's a mothership core over here, and we have some zealots as well. So Zerglings alone should not be enough in order to deal that tremendous amount of damage. And now there's even a photon cannon. No, actually doing nothing. Finally, okay, Midastouch is firing out the photon overcharge once the push is almost already done, or has already been dealt with. So, army moving in? Yeah, we'll easily kill that. There's just nothing here. We have a few Brood Lords, but the Brood Lords don't really matter. Do we have Blink? We do not, but it doesn't really matter, yeah. Just too much firepower on the ground. The Brood Lords can only retreat, and if Miezekotze, sorry about that, actually loses this base, she will be dry on resources. Almost completely. Tries to take another base over here. It's actually already long distance mining, but every hatch attempt would be denied by these Dark Templars here. Actually, quite interesting that the Dark Templars are not close enough to this base in order to kill all of these long distance mining drones there. But do they actually see that? I don't know. Maybe just barely not. Okay, but now the DT's moving in. Miezekotze trying to make something happen with the few army units she has, but it doesn't really matter. 43 to 115 against the... Yeah, 43 against the mighty 115 of the Protoss army. Trying to get something done with the Brood Lords though. Yeah, moving even in with the Mutalists, but there are way more than enough Stalkers there. GG, and Midas takes the first map. Belcher Vestige, or Vestige, is the second map in this best of 5. Miezekotze chose this map deliberately after losing the first round of this epic battle. So let's see if she wants to go for some early pressure here, knowing that it's kind of a short rush distance from one base to the other, and also knowing that there's a huge open space as entrance towards the natural base. Midas going straight for the early nexus here. Wants to have some buildings already in place to seal this part off, but it's still pretty difficult to do that in time. If you want to get out everything you want to get out, like an early nexus, like enough buildings in order to seal this off, like some units to defend behind this, and even then it's a very wide open space, very vulnerable to good Roach Ravager pushes, where you can just use all of this surface area in order to pick away from buildings, even if Photon Overcharge is being fired up. You can always just use the Ravagers to throw down biles here, throw down biles there, throw down biles on buildings if you don't want to get too close to the pylon, and then just run in and kill off everything. So, since very often if you just go for an early nexus and try to build up your economy and the Roach Posh hits very early, very hard, you just don't have anything right behind it. You're totally relying on this base to defend itself. So, in the meantime, Midas was obviously trying maybe to get this base denied, but did not get it. Hatchery was almost already done. Extractor and pool right behind it. And some sirens outside. So more gas. We want more gas. From Midastouch. Has now already a lot of buildings in position. Only one little small gap for a unit to fill. It will be a probe first, until the first adept probably will arrive. Miezekotze in the meantime going for an expand. No, does not. Never mind, that's actually Midas' probe here, seeing that her opponent has not yet gone for an expand, but Miezekotze will try to do that right now. Will probably curse a little bit, seeing that the pesky probe is again blocking her, especially with that pylon here. Very annoying there, so let's see if she just walks over here in order to take another one. Seems like it. And just leaves this pylon be. Let's see if Midas actually lets this finish, or if she cancels it the last second in order to save the money. No, she does not. So Midas indeed needs to expand over here, pretty far away from her natural base. So this third base really makes an easy target for any kind of early Protoss pushes. Lynx just running around the map have seen that there's already this wall off here. Looking kind of interesting. Again, it's kind of a weak-ish wall off. It has two pylons in it that can easily be torn down. Of course, they also grant Photon Overcharge, but yeah, like I said, I mean, with a lot of Roach Ravager, you could just easily take those down. And with Bailing Busts as well, but nobody Bailing Busts these days, so you don't really have to be worried about that too much. Zergling's checking for potential bases. Other Zergling trying to take down that pylon. Midas does not know about that base over here yet. Might assume that Miezekotze has taken this instead of the other one. Ling running in once more, wants to get a good vision of the units made so far, but does only see 2 Adepts and a Sentry. Goes in with the Overlord now. Not really much to see there except for the other gateway and the Robo. Might have actually seen the Robo, she might have clicked on the Robo and seen it. So she saw the building, or at least have seen it now. So she does now know that a robotics facility is the tech behind that. Has the 3rd base up, is not saturating it yet. Spends more creep, gets the evolution chambers, wants to have some heavy upgrades later on in the game. Quite interesting that Miezekotze actually really chooses to go for the longer game, although knowing that Midastouch is the queen of drawn-out, turtly macro games. I think the last time she faced her, she was going for more aggressive builds, trying to tear her down before all of that tech actually kicked in. Mida's trying to go into Colossi once more. It's going to be the same army composition again, it seems. So, yeah, Miezekotze already on her way to check for the 3rd base and eventually take it down. She's gotten warned that this base would be taken because her one scoutingling got killed a few seconds ago. So now running in, yeah, of course there's Photon Overcharge, so Miezekotze won't be able to do anything with Lings here, but manages to run into the main base at the same time. Midas just immediately reacts here, pulls off all of her probes into the natural mineral line, and will buy herself a little bit time until her army units have arrived. Of course, at the same time, she tries to attack at the 3rd base as well, but most of the army forces are still there. Mida's doing a good job of defending at several fronts. But yeah, eventually just manages to kill everything off, can send back her mines to her probes to mining. At least got some delayed mining here, Miezekotze that is, but extended thermal lance on the way, first Colossus on the way. Again, Midas's defenses seem to be impenetrable for her opponents. Nothing they can do about it. Yeah, Midas knows her style. She knows what she has to do in order to make it work. And where the weaknesses of her own builds are. Yeah, nice little try to get a scouting pylon up, but it didn't quite work. More Lings incoming. Ugh, actually, this Adept not really sitting in the right spot, leaving in a few Lings here. So maybe... Well, actually, these are only a few. I think, yeah, she can just warp in or could even try to attack with a drone, with the probes here. At least, well, at least getting 2 for 4 Lings. That's kind of okay-ish. Now running in once more after trying to lure these units away, but the Mothership Core is still in place. Photon Overcharge getting fired up, but more drones getting killed here. More probes, sorry, more workers getting killed. Nicely done there by Miezekotze, finally getting the damage she was seeking for, or has been seeking for quite some time, while behind that, again, just saturating the 3rd base here. Now it's on a kind of a healthy economy with 57 workers. Actually would have liked to have a little bit more at that point in time, and definitely wants to take a 4th base as soon as possibly. And there we see it, the shade that will eventually turn into a real hatchery. So Mida's still waiting, sitting on her 3 bases, doing her best to defend it, trying to gather the impossible to beat Protoss Ball. OP Protoss Ball. Yeah, and unfortunately for Miezekotze, she just tries to get in while all the Adepts try to get out. And that is, of course, a meeting the Lings do not really like. At the same time, we have more Lings running into the 3rd base again. Just taking down and focusing down more of these probes, while the rest of the army is shooting at her. Again, getting some damage done. If we just have a look, 19 workers killed so far. Although Midastouch has been doing quite a nice job of defending here, but Miezekotze still manages to find these small holes in the defense of Midas. More and more Lings being produced, going into Mutas right away this time, and getting a hive earlier on. Probably for some Vipers, after seeing that Colossi are in the mix. I mean, a really huge ass Mutaforce could also easily take out these forces here, but that's of course the biggest problem. You can't always assume correctly what your opponent is eventually going into. And of course your opponent is also reacting to what you throw at them. So, of course, having known in advance that your opponent would end up having no units that actually shoot up, you would have just loved to go for an early Spire and now just pump 20 Mutalisks or 30 Mutalisks out of 4 bases. That would just be amazing. You could just run in and kill off, fly in and actually just kill off everything. Well, now finally we have some Stalkers in the mix as well. But yeah, you just cannot know that for certain. Interesting choice there with the Ultralisk Cavern. So Miezekotze really wants to go for the A-movable army here, where she can just send her units in, running, or just trampling over everything. Midas is still waiting. She hasn't reached 200 supply yet. No reason to move out if you don't have 200 supply ready. Why would you? Miezekotze trying to check for a potential 5th base over here. Has this base already in check. Army moving over across the map. Clears the situation over here. Okay, army retreats. Miezekotze was just running forward, but sees that there's no way to engage this army whatsoever, so retreats a little bit. Sends in another Ling in order to get a good scout. Sees that the army is not there. Taking another base, while waiting for the Ultralisks to pop. Getting all the other good upgrades for her ground army. Adrenal Glands, the attack speed upgrade for the Zerglings. More Carapace upgrade, and of course the chitinous plating, the extra armor for the Ultralisks, making their armor even stronger. 6 more Ultralisks on the way. Well, there are a lot of ground forces. Colossus not nearly as good against Ultralisks anymore than they have been, or than they were in Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty. Miezekotze again trying to get in, but this time around the Adept is standing at the right place, but again getting pushed aside. So 1 Ling makes it into the main base, might even be able, no, might not be able, 3 cannons! Just denying the damage there. Ling getting in, trying to deal some damage, and the cannons be like, denied! Just not letting it happen at all. Finally the Ultralisks hatch. So let's see if this force will be able to take down this force. In theory, it's looking kinda okayish, especially since the Stalkers do not have Blink yet. I mean, Adepts are pretty worthless against Ultralisks. Okay, another run-by attempt with a few more links. Who does Miezekotze think she is? Life? Dark? Sending in the link squads, but unfortunately it's just not working out. Too many static defenses and forces ready in order to intercept all of these units. So, but she can also just send these links in order to free supply for the heavier units. So let's see how this is going to work. I mean, the Mutas won't really deal that much damage. There's too many Stalkers around, but Stalkers usually not enough and not powerful enough in order to kill all of these Ultras. And the Ultras just ripping through all of the ground forces. Colossus still dealing some damage, but like I said, Colossus not that big of a damage dealer anymore. They got pretty crippled from HOTS to Legacy of the Void, but still manages to just barely beat Miezekotze's forces, not without losing significant parts of her own forces she now has to replenish. And these are of course resources she would have probably loved to invest into something else than just replenishing her Stalkers. She has some High Templars in the mix, might even morph them into Archons, because Archons actually do help out against Ultras a little bit, if they are actually in front of the army. So Miezekotze is building more and more Ultralisks and getting more and more Mutalisks, wants to transition into Broodlords once again afterwards. So then she would have almost all of the T3 units available that Zerg has to offer. More and more Archons get morphed. Burrow even. Okay, don't really know if she... I think she never actually used it. She had Burrow in the last game, but I don't remember any engagement where she actually used Burrow. Although burrow is a good upgrade. You can just always send links towards bases, burrow them underneath them, so it always becomes more difficult for a player to expand at that point in time, because you will always have to send detection and some army units over there, have to kill it, and only then can you finally start your expansion. And very often you just send a unit there wanting to expand, and you just send it there and forget about it, and it takes some time to realize that this base actually never started to build because there was this pesky little link being burrowed. That was actually a very common tactic back in the older days, but no one really uses it anymore, which is a shame, I think. So, big engagement now in the middle of the map. The Ultralists again just ripping through almost everything. Arkans dealing a great deal of damage there, but it seems as if it's just not enough. The Stalkers get trapped between 4 Ultralists just barely blinking out, but the damage has been dealt. All of the important high-tech units got shredded, and now the rest of the army units, okay, we'll lose this Ultralists here, but now it's only Gateway forces against the Miezekotze that has a 70 supply lead. With more bases, Midas is running pretty dry. She only has this base going for her, and it's also pretty dry. Couldn't just get another expansion at any time, was trying to get it, but then Miezekotze just ran in and killed it. Now even wanting to take a base down here, so that's why you actually see these hatchery shade above the Nexus being warped in. Yeah, this Nexus has to get cancelled, gets cancelled, so at least she doesn't lose the 100 minerals, but it does not even matter. More and more links streaming in together with the Ultralisks. So yeah, she lures her opponent into the Photon Overcharge, but it will probably not even matter. Once Miezekotze just micros her units accordingly, they will just tear through all of these standing forth with the Kaiser Blades. Even if she does not get a favorable engagement, it does not really matter. She can afford to take this engagement, since she is on 5, now taking a 6th space and even a 7th one, denying the space for even longer, since right now Midas not only has to take the space, because before that she has to kill Miezekotze's one. And yeah, I mean, she will just never get up another base. This is like the biggest force she will ever get. 26 to 8, totally oversaturated. The income is at a measly 700 to 2,100. So this is only a matter of time, ladies and gentlemen. Midas trying to do her best to fend off the incoming army of Miezekotze again, but realizes this is it. GG, and Miezekotze ties the series 1-1. Proxima Station. To the bottom left, we have Midastouch, and to the top right, it's Miezekotze. Midas chose this map, not all too surprising, since it features a backdoor expansion, which just suits the style of Midas so very well. It's easy for her to take a natural base and also a third, because the third is also pretty close to her main base. It's easy to defend. It's easy to defend all 3 bases via one entrance if you make sure that nothing just breaks through this backdoor debris. So yeah, this just totally is the best map for Midas' turtley style to play on. So it totally makes sense to choose it. Miezekotze, again, like a lot of Zerg players today and these days, going for the hatch in front of the main base in order to get the creep spread going towards the enemy. Let's see what both players have up their sleeves. Miezekotze going for Ultra's last game. Cybernetics Core, no base yet. Which is kind of surprising. Would have guessed that she would try to go for an even earlier Nexus, since it's so much easier to defend it. Doesn't want to be too greedy though. There's still ways for Zerg nowadays to get inside a wall of base. Be it the back rocks or be it overload drops. So maybe don't want to be too greedy, ending up with way too few units to defend a mass link drop. So knows about the problems of this map, plants down the pylon I was talking about earlier in the game between Shinobi and Horsemaster. The typical 4 links for Miezekotze. For scouting purposes, although she does not really need them right now, has the overlords in position already, sees the tech buildings in front of the ramp, or actually on top of the ramp, never mind, but in front of the ramp from this perspective. More links being produced actually, kinda interesting there, speed will almost finish. We have the dropper lords already being morphed somewhere, there it is. So it is indeed a Ling drop, as I was talking about. Yeah, checks the debris over here. Maybe wants to lead Midas into believing that she might actually want to do something over here, because that pylon actually scouts the overlord over there. So the Lings are in, only 6 so far, so only mild pressure, not really all inny whatsoever, but just being well timed with the speed. Okay. Oh, just barely! Got one little small glimpse of it, so just barely missed it. I mean, very nicely done by Midas here, using the mothership core in order to scout for such a potential drop incoming, and just seeing a small blip of it right before it happens. So very unfortunate there for Midastouch. Had everything on the screen, but unfortunately couldn't react in time. Well, still not that big of a deal, I think. We'll get a few probes here, it's a bit annoying though, but she has enough adepts out, 3 kills, and that's it. I mean, that could have gone way worse, but didn't. Still, 3 probes, totally okay, the equivalent of 6 links, so evened out the investment, but of course there's also mining time lost now, since Midas has to work with 3 workers less than usual. So a little bit of a better trade there for Miezekotze. Roachhorn incoming, probably just for safety reasons. She hasn't really been playing a lot of roaches thus far, but that might change. As a player that high, you usually don't want to be too predictable. Especially not playing in a league format like this, where you have to face a lot of opponents over the course of several weeks. People will just get used to your playstyle and will learn how to counter it. And then you just sit there getting countered, getting hard countered all the way, because people just know what you want to do. Even though that actually shows how what kind of a competent turtley player Midastouch actually is, because players must know by now, actually since the start of Season 2, what Midastouch usually likes to do and what her playstyle actually is. And a lot of people actually try to already hard counter her style, but they don't really succeed in a way that they would like to. So again, that just shows how comfortable Midas has become with her own style and how much she's refined it, making it very difficult for her opponent, to actually take favorable engagements, even though they know what's coming. Robotics Bay in the making. I mean, you knew it. It would be a Colossus-based army with Templars coming in later on. We will probably see a Dark Shrine at some point for some harassment. Miezekotze has everything in check, knows that there's no third base, or there hasn't been a third base going down, but now knows that probably one is going down, since the Ling just got killed. Everything else is under her control, has the gold base in check. Small forces for Midas. And the Roaches and Ravagers. So seems this time around, Miezekotze actually does want to make good use of her Roachhorn. And wants to push in before Midas has the possibility to get her desired army. Don't know if it's actually going to be in time. First Colossus is already on the move. And like I said before, this is not a very wide open space. And you can actually limit the space. with planting down more buildings. So with a lot of pylons here and photon overcharge available. Where is actually the mothership core? Mothership core is probably somewhere to defend. There it is. So if something were to come in, the mothership core would be available. But yeah, I think she will move it towards the front in a little time. And then she has a lot of units right behind it, even has some sentries in order to force field these units back. Yes, of course, there's Ravagers, but if you use Ravagers... Okay, it seems as if she really wants to break through. Maybe with the Ravagers first, and then just crush into all of the rest of the army units with the Banelings. So let's see what she wants to do. I think she could easily use most of these Biles in order to take out these pylons. But she wants to take down these buildings. I don't think she really wants to crush too many of those Banelings into the buildings, although she has an awful lot of them. But this timing push could be really problematic for Midas to hold. Let's see how she deals with it. I was praising her abilities before, so let's see if she can actually hold up to what I promised. Okay, nice little force field there. Banelings not getting in, and like I said, this gets taken down quite easily, having already lost a fair amount of units here to Biles and Ravager shots. Miezekotze just reinforcing her army with a few more Banelings, though. One building is already down. Yes, Midas definitely wants to construct it once more. And here we have a few more static defense buildings setting up as well. Midas knows how dangerous the situation is. She knows that she definitely needs to hold this push if she does not want to die right now. But Miezekotze not all in whatsoever. She has taken a fourth base right behind it. So she can easily afford to just contain her opponent, pressuring her like crazy, making her freak out. And she does so very nicely there. Throwing in the Biles, and once the buildings are down, the Banelings will roll in, but the force fields are there. Unfortunately not completely. A small chunk of Banelings manages to get in, killing off a few units there and almost killing off that gateway. But the pressure is not done whatsoever. Miezekotze just running in once more. Has to be careful. Lings alone will just melt away by the shots of these colossi. So finally taking out the building over here. So opening up another passway into the army. Now trying to get the Banelings, and not the best force fields, unfortunately. Most of the Banelings actually connect with the army, tearing down a lot of these forces. Now the Lings stream in. The Roaches and their Biles trying to take out these colossi, getting one. Only one remains. We only have a few Zerglings, a few Dalits now, and the sentry, but Midas eventually manages to take out the forces, but at what cost? Like I said before, Miezekotze was not all-inning whatsoever. She had a comfortable economic lead. She's even managed to make it stronger throughout that push, and is now just easily replenishing most of her army for a second one, while Midas has lost most of her standing forces, especially the high-tech units once more, the important units that might help her to deal with all of these. And yeah, with the ground forces, making Midas invest into a lot of only ground shooting forces here. She only has a few Stalkers in the mix, and is now transitioning into a lot of Mutas, so the tech switch might actually kill her opponent there. Miezekotze trying to get inside the base with another Overlord drop. Has to move quickly, or otherwise it might get picked up. So in the meantime, Mutas just flying around nowhere. Probably just wanted to, I don't know, do what? Taking the gold base, Miezekotze that is. Yeah, just always staying, yeah, almost 2 bases ahead of her opponent right now. So the economic lead should definitely lie with Miezekotze here. We can see that 71 workers to 58. And Midas still trying to replenish her army. Has already managed to do so. I mean, this is already a pretty strong force already, especially against low-tech units. So now the Mutalisks fly in. We don't have that many Stalkers, but there's still maybe a sufficient number. More are being morphed in. So now we have all of them. Mutas trying to attack from behind, while the Ravagers rain down Biles from the front. Midas, unfortunately, not microing whatsoever. Most of the Biles just rain into the army, but do not deal enough damage in the end. So Miezekotze has to retreat for now. Another unfavorable engagement for her. And Midas moves out. She doesn't have 200 supply, but she smells the weakness in the water. Killing off a few of these Ravagers, while Miezekotze desperately tries to gather her forces. Ooh, the Ravager, yeah, like I said, she had some sort of drop in mind, forgot about it, and now the Overlord got taken out. And the army is coming, she's moving in, sending all of her Lings, and the Lings won't really deal that much damage. Will keep these Stalkers occupied for a moment, so that the Mutas can actually take care of all of these Colossi. That's of course a big win already. Most of the Mutas dying in the process though. We have more and more Lings incoming. We still have some Ravagers behind that. More Roaches coming in, but unfortunately there's also a Dark Templar, and no! Oh, is there? Oh, there is. Never mind. There's an Overseer here, but it gets picked up. So now no more, but unfortunately for her the Dark Templar actually got killed, so no more Dark Templars in the army. So Miezekotze does not actually need any reinforcement at that point in time. Okay, that's actually quite strange there. For Midas not taking down these Ravagers there. What was that? I mean, she just retreated. There were so many Ravagers just in front of her morphing. I know it's more difficult to shoot them down when they are morphing, but still, she had so many forces there. I think she could have easily just taken them out, but I think she just wanted to retreat as long as she could. Assuming that her opponent would probably just run in with a lot of Lings in only a matter of seconds. Nidus Network! Nice! Okay, trying to get a little bit deeper into the base. She has one Overlord in position, and the army is far out of position, so even if Midas realizes that a Nidus Worm is going down somewhere inside her base, it would still take a tremendous amount of time to make her way through all the choke points back to here before the army actually moves out. Going into the Greater Spire once more, getting Adrenal Glands and the Zerg armor upgrade. Midas just moving out with a few more probes. Miezekotze sniffs out the 4th base attempt of Midas straight away. Will already move her army across the map. And there's the Nidus Worm. Okay, actually just for reinforcements. Nice move there by Miezekotze. Just using the Nidus Worm as some sort of pylon to reinforce more quickly at the front. But there's the big engagement there. Oh, Miezekotze has to be careful. There's the Nidus Worm. A lot of units are in there. Mostly Queens, though. So, yeah, Queens are actually good for transfuse, but there's nothing really to transfuse. A lot of units move in, but I don't know if Miezekotze can actually win this fight. A lot of damage being dealt, though, by those Queens, by those Ravagers. The Zealots still getting close, finally getting close to the rest of the army, but a lot of the heavy tech units have been killed again, but it still seems as if Midas will just barely be able to take out Miezekotze's standing army, kill down the Nidus Worm eventually, and will secure herself a 4th base. And I don't know if Miezekotze can actually hold off that next push here. She has only a lot of Lings, but there are 2 Archons. Not heavily upgraded, but occasionally. She also has a lot of Zealots there, so in general you could say she just has the anti-Ling army. So with Lings alone, Miezekotze can never attack that. Loses the 4th or loses the 5th. Never mind, over at the gold base, but it still was an important base because that base is getting low on minerals and her other bases are almost mined out, so she has to be careful. Needs to desperately take another base. I think she should rather just expand over here or down here, but can't because there's a DT, but at least should try to do it. Now the rest of the army forces are streaming in. Midas has a scary army here, though. A lot of these light units are standing in front. The Balings just crush in, eliminating almost all of the Zealots here in an instant. But Midas still has the chance, or still has the possibility to reinforce her army right at the front, using that warp prism over here. Now walks straight into the natural line, into the natural middle line, or the natural base. The natural is not really important, and there's the first 2 Brood Lords. But of course, 2 Brood Lords alone, not really that big of the damage dealers. The Archons move in, kill off 1, but then get surrounded by most of these Lings and a few of these Broodlings. So seems as if Miezekotze might just barely hold this with the help of the Broodlords and the last remaining forces. Driving away the last of the Stalkers, but the Stalkers cannot get away from the Speedlings. Man, this is a back and forth game. What the hell is going on? Miezekotze now in the supply lead, 99 to 76. Just has a slightly bigger army, but it's all low tier, except for the two Brood Lords. Alright, Miezekotze really thinking that she needs to deal some damage now, wants to desperately deny the mining from the 4th base of Midas here, and I think that's a really good idea. Question is, will she be able to do that? Midas in the meantime trying to gather a new army here with forces that can actually help her against the Broodlord threat. And this base is totally undefended. Ooh, nothing whatsoever. No pylon, no buildings, no cannons. And cannons wouldn't even be helpful against the Broodlords, but at least would help against the Zerglings. And now the army moves in. Ooh, has to be careful not to overcommit here. The Archons are not yet done, but will be in just a few seconds. But this base will fail before that. And that is, of course, a critical loss there. Ooh! But then Miezekotze with the misclick there, trying to move back, trying to remove from the battlefield, but unfortunately running right into Midas' standing forces. All of the Zerglings getting killed, but it seems as if it might not have been the worst thing to happen here, since the Zerglings surround all of the units, killing off everything, and the Broodlord still remains. So now I think this should be actually it. Midastouch does not even have an income to speak of. It's just mostly pitiful. She can only just morph in a few units at a time. Tries to desperately move out with one Stalker and picking off at least one of this. Nicely done there, actually. Picking off one of these Broodlords, blinking back, but that is it. Overwhelming forces inside her base. GG, well played. And Miezekotze takes the lead with a 2-1. Paladino Terminal as the 4th map, picked by Midastouch. This could be interesting. This map is known for cheesy builds. Midas not the cheesy type. Wants to seal off that part of the entrance straight away. There's a second one as well, but she will probably take care of that a little bit later on. Wants to go for the early expand once more. Let's see if Miezekotze wants to do something else, but it doesn't look like it. Just droning up a little bit, no early pool shenaniganry. Would have actually be kind of interesting. I think that would have been really good on that map. But of course you cannot really expect your opponent to try to wall on the low ground, because that would just be fatal. If Miezekotze actually went for an early pool, she could easily avoid that. I think there's no way that Midas should actually get enough buildings out to seal everything off before a flood of links with speed. Oh, well, actually, at first they wouldn't have speed, but before a flood of links moves in, I think there's no way. And I think there's even this little gap over here where she could just still walk in. The gap that she usually just wants to fill with a unit later on. But yeah, I think you don't really expect an opponent trying to do this. You would usually expect the opponent to wall up here, so that an early pool would be hurting you more than it would do you benefit. But yeah, this would have worked out greatly against Midas here. Just knowing about her style. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Zerg player and you face Midas on this map, you might expect something like that and make use of it. Or not. In the meantime, Miezekotze just also going for the usual standard opening, no shenaniganry, just the good old solid practiced builds out of both players. So finally there's the wall. Like I said, would be still a possibility to get in units over here, taking down that probe. Yeah, could of course still wall it off with a building. I don't know. I don't know. Might have worked, might have not worked. I think you would have applied a lot of pressure at least. Because it's still taking quite a lot of time in order to get something out, and even an adept cannot really cover everything. So, first few links out. This time a little bit more. We have 6 links trying to deal some more damage. So Miezekotze actually is adapting a little bit to the map, knowing that it's a wide open space where you might be able to deal some more damage. Does not see any of the buildings yet. Okay, another building over here trying to put the wall more, and there we have it. Midas getting chewed down, and the links are in. And now, just imagine those were a lot more and earlier. So Adept finally out, so I think with the Adept and a little bit of Probe Micro, she should be able to hold this. Well, not as easy as we thought she would. So now just has to Chrono Boost the other one, losing more and more probes in the process. So this was already worth it. Killing 4 probes and an Adept right at the get-go, also denying a lot of mining time in the process. So that was really a good engagement for Miezekotze there. Midas probably not satisfied with the way that went. Mieze also does have an Overlord in place. Could actually go for a sneaky Nidus Worm play if she wanted to do so. She has a lair in the making. So let's see if a Nidus Worm will actually come up by Nidus Network. Would be quite interesting there to see that. But it's probably just an Overlord to fly in later to get a good tech scout. Nope, it's going to be Spire play once more. So Mothership Core moving across the map. Zerglings on the run once more. Probably want they probably want to check for a possible third, which is not really possible, but mostly just seeing what kind of units are being built, if something is happening, if we can get more tech building scouted by a scout on the front, or she just wants to park it at a point where her units will probably move out. Okay, just moves in, get killed instantaneously, so no way for her to get any valid scouting information. Mothership Core just flying across the map. Has to be careful not to get shot down. Queen just chasing, but once the Queen gets off creep, it will easily get away. No way for a Queen to chase anything off creep. Not even an Overlord. Well, Overlords can sometimes work. So, not much to see right now. We have another attempt of Adepts trying to get in, but they get surrounded immediately and taken out. Midas does not even bother to shade them away. So Mothership Core has to retreat as well. Nice little move there by Miezekotze, taking up quite a late third base over here. Of course, she did some early aggression with Lynx that put her behind a little bit on minerals in order to get a third base out earlier, but this is still fairly late for her. She usually likes to have it a little bit earlier, but going into Mutalisks straight away is taking its toll. Might actually be able to do something. Like I said before, if you have just studied your opponent's style, seeing that they usually go for a heavily ground-based army that can only shoot ground with only a few units that can attack air, a transition into Mutas might actually be the thing. They are the Mutas, already quite a lot of them. We do not have anything inside the main base. Well, that is actually a huge blunder. That is a huge blunder from Midas. Not having a pylon anywhere for at least from Rochat. 12, 13, 14, and not even reacting, GG. And Miezekotze takes the series with a 3-1.